In September 2014, visitors at the Delhi Zoo in India witnessed something so horrifying that it left them in shock. And it was all captured on video. The footage begins near the white tiger enclosure, home to one of nature's deadliest predators. And guys, if you don't already know, white tigers can weigh up to 570 pounds and have a bite force of 1,000 pounds per square inch. That's enough to crush bones like they're made of glass. These predators are capable of bringing down prey 5 times their size. In short, a human, they wouldn't stand a chance.
What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. How you guys doing? If you guys are brand new here to the channel, you guys don't know what we do, don't worry, I'm gonna break it down for you guys, man. We talk about the most scariest and creepiest videos on the net, on the web, from YouTube videos to TikTok videos, IG videos, Facebook, anything weird, usual, and unexplained you can find right here on this channel. I just want to thank all my supporters, man, who's coming back to the channel each and every single day, watching the videos entirely, man, commenting down below, and most importantly, hitting that thumbs up button on each and every single video I drop. You guys are helping growing the Seekers. You guys are helping growing the community. I greatly appreciate the support. Found this video for you guys today, man. Let's do what we do best, Seekers. Stay with me, y'all. Let's seek the truth.
Think like a psychopath. Specialists have actually agreed that if you can answer this riddle easily, you might be a psychopath. An explorer and his crew were stranded in the Arctic for several months. When they were finally rescued, the explorer was reunited with his wife, to which he told her all the stories about how their ship crashed and the captain had to feed the remaining crew penguins while they huddled on the ice together in order to survive. A few days later, the explorer's wife became curious and decided to try penguin for herself. Now, despite the explorer's experience, he agreed to eat some with her. However, immediately after, he began to cry and ran out of the room. Shortly later, he unalived himself. But why? Now send this to a friend. Let's see if you're friends with a psychopath. Elon!
I don't know. I can't figure that riddle out.
Scary facts that will blow your mind. Part 1. The middle of nowhere is an actual place within New Mexico. The legend goes that an elderly couple lived out there with their dog and witnessed many strange and bizarre things. One night, they reported seeing a strange creature that they identified as a skinwalker. After reporting this to the police, the family had vanished under strange circumstances. Their dog, however, was left behind. This is the story that Courage the Cowardly Dog was based off of. Like and follow for more.
Whoa, I never knew that. I watched that as a kid.
Yo, what's up? These are some signs that your house may be haunted. The first one's going to be that a child is talking to an identified spirit. Now, children's imagination can run pretty wild, but if you've already ruled out the possibility of it being an imaginary friend, they're definitely more susceptible than you are to be talking to a ghost, because they have the mindset of anything is possible, so they won't really think about it that much. The next sign's going to be if you hear unidentifiable noises in your home. Now, obviously, people can make noises and you may not even know that they made that noise, but if you're dealing with spirits and you hear a loud clack or bang, it's usually a spirit known as a poltergeist. They will slam and knock on doors and make any loud noise to try to scare you out of your own home. Don't let them. Alright, the next thing is going to be smelling an unusual scent in your home. Now, obviously, there could be a dead animal in your house, or there could be trash that just needs to be taken out. But if it isn't any of these two things, you might want to look into it, because a very common way that ghosts identify that they are in your home is by smell, whether that be the scent of cigars or perfume. They're trying to get the same smell that they had when they were alive.
Wow, okay. Write those down. Leo. Where the Leos at?
Okay, here's something you can tell your teacher in class tomorrow. According to a first-of-its-kind study, banning mobile phones in schools does not help kids' grades or behavior as intended.
You don't say.
I hate this one. The study was the first in the world to look at 1,227 students across 30 schools, some of which had strict cell phone bans, while others you could doom scroll TikTok at lunch. And guess what? No difference in mental health, no difference in academic performance, and no difference in their sleep, exercise, or classroom behavior. So, what did it do? Well, kids in those stricter schools did spend less time on their phones. But, key point, only in school hours. And the fact that it didn't lower overall screen time suggests that those kids were only making up for lost time once they're out of school, which
isn't ideal. But before you go thinking that this is your golden ticket to getting cell phones back in class, I don't think that's about to happen. The study's lead author said that these results show us that we need to do more than just ban phones in schools in order to tackle the negative impacts that excess phone use does have on children. I look forward to reading all the angry messages from teachers tomorrow.
What do y'all guys think, Seekers? The banning, just a ban of school, it seemed like it ain't enough, man. They might, if you want freaking, I guess, real change, we'll have to ban that at home too. Because as soon as they get out of school, they're going to go on that TikTok scroll. They're addicted to it, man. I don't know how, man. I mean, personally, I'm not. I don't do that doom roll on TikTok. I mastered that. It's pointless to me, so I just don't do it.
Carson facts you didn't know. Blue, that's a girl. Magenta is actually the boy. Tweety Bird isn't a girl. Tweety Bird is actually a boy. BMO actually has no gender. Can you guys please stop calling this guy Zelda? His name is Link. Goofy is not a dog. He's an Aberdeen Angus cow. Like this video if you want a part 2.
Goofy a cow? What the?
The picture behind me might look like a normal photo, but it's actually one of the most sinister, real-life haunted photos in history. Taken by a professional photographer in 1972 as guests arrived for a wedding, everything in this picture looks happy and normal. But if you take a closer look at the man standing in black, you'll see something odd. You can actually see somebody in white crouching behind the man. All 4 of the people in the picture said that there was no one behind them when it was taken. The photographer said the same thing, and that it would be impossible for someone to crouch behind them without him seeing them. This is a better picture where you can actually see the guy's legs, and then in the top you can see his eyes. The picture was even examined by police photographers, and they confirmed that it was genuine.
People are
He didn't
requesting the
notice?
controversial story Playground to be made into a movie. You know, the story where a bunch of kids get unalived in Saw Trap-like fashion, and they're even wanting the Saw producers to make it, but here's why that's never going to happen. One child is used as a human surfboard and is going through a series of spiraling saw blades, and she is turned into nothing but a pile of mush and human flesh ribbons. That isn't even the craziest part of this book either. Playground would need to be toned down so much for so many reasons in order to be made into a movie, and at that point it wouldn't even resemble the original source material. And the Saw producers, my buddies Mark and Oren, have certain lines that they do not want to cross for the movies. They have stated that they never want to see a child in an actual active saw trap machine. And when the writers of Saw X said that they wanted to put Carlos in a saw trap, a child, the producers actually said no. They said it would be too disturbing, too much for audiences, and they had no interest in putting this in their movie. But the writers pushed back a little bit on this, and they said that they were going to use this to help elevate the story, and it was going to up the stakes a lot, and we wouldn't really see anything brutal happen to Carlos. And the producers said, okay, we'll give it a try. And that's my main point here. I understand why people see Playground and they're like, oh, it's gory, it's like Saw, maybe the Saw people would do this, but it just will not. Playground is a splatterpunk novel. It is not traditional horror. The whole point is to go to extremes and be over the top and as gross, as nasty as you can. The idea is to say down with the censorship and just do whatever you want, basically. Splatterpunk authors and game developers don't want anything to be off the table. They want to be as extreme and as horrific as they can to get the best scares possible in their minds. If Playground were made into a film, it would be way more intense than any of the Terrifier movies combined, but just imagine that, but with children. It just wouldn't be allowed to happen. Also, over on my pod, I've been covering controversial and graphic horror films. Last week we did Megan is Missing, and next week we're doing Martyrs, so go check that out if you want.
Psychology hacks you need to know.
Interesting.
If someone is trying to make you decide something in a hurry, they're most likely giving you a bad deal, and you should just walk away. If a person is trying to intimidate you, stare at their forehead with a blank expression. This will psychologically make them self-conscious. Chewing gum when you're nervous really does help because your brain thinks, I'm eating, so I must not be in danger. If you want to know if someone is interested in what you're saying, cross your arms. If they cross their arms too, this is called mirroring, and it actually means they're interested in the conversation. If you need to remember to do something tomorrow, just put something in your room out of place. The next day, you'll see this item out of place, and you'll remember why you put it there. Finally, if two people are arguing, stand in between them and eat something. It'll help alleviate the tension.
Or you're gonna get hit in the face.
Fun fact, often called one of the most perfectly designed objects to ever be built, we've all sat on a monoblock chair, and it's estimated more than 1 billion of them have been made since they began production in the 1970s. The monoblock chair transcends time. Look at these photos. Tell me what year they were taken. You can't. The monoblock chair is so perfectly designed, unlike cars, TVs, or phones, it's never changed. And since its design was never patented, we aren't actually sure who designed it. Credit is usually given to Douglas Simpson as the original designer and Henry Massonette as the mass producer. Monoblock chairs are really a product of industry. As injection molding became more refined in the 1970s, monoblock chairs were able to be produced on an insane scale and at a very minimal cost.
Nobody got that patent, man. If you got that darn patent, you roll it in the dough. I'm surprised the creator of it didn't get a patent. There has to be a story behind that, right? That's a lot of money he left on the table. Something went down.
This is the moment the 17-year-old is seen smiling after finding out that he was found not guilty for the murder of his mother. The crazy part about this entire thing is that the year prior, he also shot and took his father's life. This all happened in September 2024 when 39-year-old Catherine Griffith was found to death in her parents' home in Auburndale, Florida. Her own son, 17-year-old Colin Griffith, he told police that his mother lunged at him with a knife and then somehow she fell on the knife and lost her life. Now, a few weeks before this happened, Colin had a conversation with his grandfather, which was his mother's father, and do you want to know what he said to him? He said, I quote, "More than anything, I want to slit her throat and feel her out and feel the life leave her body. That's how much I hate her." That's what he said to his grandfather. Witnesses also saw Colin and his mother arguing outside the house, and they saw him grab his mother by the hair and drag her inside the home. Now, the part that had my jaw on the floor was finding out that the year prior, Colin also and took his father's life. During the trial, this detail was not allowed in court, which means that the jury did not know that Colin also took his father's life, because I'm sure that if they knew this, the outcome would have been a lot different. It's actually terrifying that this man is just out and free, and in my opinion, he could potentially be a serial killer, and it's just a matter of time until he does this again.
Someone recently
I didn't
asked
the jury
me
know.
what the strangest thing I've seen in a police file is, and I think I have an answer. It's this trash can. Let me explain. So this trash can was found in Joan Rish's house in 1961, immediately after she went missing. Her young daughter had gone to a neighbor's house and told the neighbor that mommy is missing and there's red paint all over the kitchen. And when the police got there, they saw that the red all over the kitchen was blood. But there were also a few really weird details like this trash can, so the police had no idea what had happened to Joan. So first and foremost is the fact that this trash can is just in the middle of the kitchen. Normally it was under the sink, but here it is just in the middle of the kitchen for no reason. And then the contents of the trash made no sense. So here is the phone receiver, which has been ripped from the wall. You can see in this photo here that the phone is still on the wall, but just the mouthpiece was ripped off. And then moved across the kitchen and neatly placed on the trash. And on the phone was a fingerprint they could never identify. People hypothesized that maybe someone was there, and when Joan went to call for help, they ripped the mouthpiece off. Then there was this beer. So Joan's husband was out of town when this happened, but when he came back, he said that no one in the house drank Miller High Lifes. He didn't drink it, Joan didn't drink it, the trash had been taken out since the last time people were over, but yet there's Miller High Life next to the trash. Joan disappeared that day and was never seen again, and these two little pieces right here are some of the only evidence that someone else may have been in the house. They don't know if she ran away on her own, if she was taken, or what. But the whole story is really wild, and I tell it all tonight on the episode. Also, merch goes live when the episode drops.
What if you had a
Find out what
fetus
happened?
growing inside of your skull right now and you had no idea? In China, an unborn twin was found inside of the skull of a 1-year-old child. This led to more research in fetus in fetu, where the twins fuse and then only one of them kind of undergo development. And in this case, the other one's in their skull. Also, as you can see behind me, this is what they pulled out of the brain. It's about the size of a hand from what I can tell. Maybe a little smaller than a hand. I see some fingers up over here. But that's still pretty significant in size to be inside of your brain like that. And the x-ray is just wild. I'm curious to see how this affected the other twin. Did it have any cognitive impairments on the other one? Did it hurt at all or something? I'm just surprised the other twin's body, while undergoing development, didn't dissolve the twin and kind of consume them. That's apparently a thing that happens when twins fuse. The other one kind of absorbs the weaker one. But this thing looks like it came out of Stranger Things, like season 2, when Will puke that thing into the sink.
Yep.
Also looks like a sandworm from Dune or Jabba the Hutt. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and as always, these videos are for informational purposes only.
The picture behind me might look like a normal
Crazy.
photo, but it's actually one of the most sinister, real-life haunted photos in history. Taken by a professional photographer in 1972 as guests arrived for a wedding, everything in this picture looks happy and normal. But if you take a closer look at the man standing in black, you'll see something odd. You can actually see somebody in white crouching behind the man. All four of the people in the picture said that there was no one behind them when it was taken. The photographer said the same thing, and that it would be impossible for someone to crouch behind them without him seeing them. This is a better picture where you can actually see the guy's legs, and then in the top you can see his eyes. The picture was even examined by police photographers, and they confirmed that it was genuine.
That'd be a ghost or something, man.
Here's what to actually do if you're buried alive. The first step is to slow your breathing and stay in control of your emotions to minimize oxygen intake. Then try and find something rigid such as a rock to make noise against the coffin in case anyone is still above. Quick note, if you've been buried in a steel coffin, give up. If you've been buried in a wooden coffin, find something to make a hole in the top. When you cut the hole, push the dirt that comes through underneath you and then begin to climb up. If you've recently been buried, then the dirt should still be soft and you'll be able to climb up out alive.
Noted. It's like that, y'all know, remember that Kill Bill the movie? When she had to punch her way out? That's the first time I seen something like that. I remember watching that when I was young. That's just what came in my head when I heard that advice.
I don't know if it's just me, but animal nerds piss me off, bro. Because for some reason, they always have to tell you the darkest fact about your favorite animal that you didn't even ask.
And I'm gonna do it again. Matter of fact, what's your favorite animal?
Favorite animals are otters and seals.
Say less. If you see a sea otter with its nose ripped off, it's almost definitely a female. Because the otter mating process involves the male clamping his jaws around her face to hold her in place. Consent sold separately, in fact it might be discontinued. The males can get so aggressive that they completely destroy the female's nose, where it gets infected and swells to the point where the female can't eat and just starves to death. Or the male gets too excited and accidentally waterboards his partner in the process. Which is only a tragedy to one of them, since males reportedly can't tell the difference between an active breathing participant and a soul-evicted carcass, because they treat them exactly the same. Now you'd expect an animal that dates like this to have more males than females. Problem is that sometimes leaves an aggressive testosterone incel weasel without a mate. In some of these lower female areas, these down bad water wolverines will settle for anything roughly the same size, which can lead the male sea otters breaking the seal with no approval, and sometimes even guarding the life-retired body for up to a week. Now it doesn't happen that often, it's pretty rare, and only in those places with a severe gender imbalance. But what was your other favorite animal?
And seals.
Oh, well, some fur seals in Antarctica have the same problem, where a lack of female causes a hormonal hot dog without a bun to stick it in to resort to. Yeah, there have been multiple recorded instances of fur seals forcing themselves on king penguins. In one case, a seal assault lasted 14 hours until it eventually gave up and just ate the bird. And now you know why penguins waddle. Say something else. I want you to.
He will expose all of them, man.
Sorry. Or whatever. Oh, I don't really recall calling you, ugly, see you next Tuesday. I'm such an honest person, and, I'm the first to take accountability. This is, a misunderstanding. Yeah, no, I would never call you a ugly, see you next Tuesday. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
I'm so sorry for caring about you. I'm so sorry for only wanting the best for you. I'm so sorry. Happy? How am I always sorry? Are you ever sorry? Have you been sorry about cheating on me? Have you been sorry about lying to me? Have you been sorry about talking crap about me behind my back? Have you been sorry about anything to me? Have you? And you want me to be sorry?
You do not. What the?
You are way too sensitive. The world owes me an apology. Oh, it's your victim mindset. Nobody, and I mean nobody, owes you an apology. Get up. I had to learn the hard way.
The Grammys are not real because you're gonna sit here and tell me that Billy did not win one single award after being nominated in 7 categories. How is this even possible? Hit Me Hard and Soft was the best album in 2024. I don't care what anyone says. And I swear that throughout 2024, all I heard on the radio was just Billie Eilish over and over and over again. On top of that, Birds of a Feather was a most streamed song in 2024 on Spotify, yet she lost Album of the Year to Beyonce. I'd be crying too if I knew my album was this good and I won 0 Grammys. The trailer for the new
What do you guys think, man? The Grammys is rigged, man. I've heard different stories, behind the scenes. They was didn't Jay-Z? It's Jay-Z paid for Beyonce to win, but I don't know. That was just a rumor I heard. I don't know if there's any validity to it, but what do you guys think about the Grammys? Can those awards be bought?
Final Destination movie is finally out. I don't know if I ever told you guys this, but Final Destination is literally my comfort horror franchise. We all know everyone dies, but the death scenes are always so creative, and there's just something oddly satisfying about these movies. So let's watch the trailer together. I also haven't seen it yet, so this will be a blind.
Final Destination, man. I heard that's why people won't, drive behind logs, like log trucks, something like that. That's where I got it from, so stay away from those. Always, man.
Did you know that male testosterone is decreasing every year with newborn babies?
Of course.
Every year.
Of
It's
course.
dangerously low testosterone.
It's about the food, bro.
I don't know, man.
It's about the product.
30 years from now, this is a scientific study calculation. 30 years from now, males and females will have the same amount of testosterone count. يعني our kids.
يعني انت بتكون حرمة حمد.
لا محشوم
What is one true crime case that you just can't stop thinking about?
Interesting.
I always wonder what really happened to 6-year-old Catherine Corzilius. On August 7th, 1996, Catherine, along with her mom Nancy and her brother Chris, were out running errands. Catherine's dad was Paul Corzilius, who at the time was the tour manager for John Bon Jovi. That day was Paul's birthday, so they were all out looking for a present for him. They all lived on Elder Circle, which is a small neighborhood near Austin, Texas. When they got back to Elder Circle, Catherine wanted to pick up the mail from the community mailbox and then walk home. The mailboxes were only about an eighth of a mile from their home, and Catherine had done this a few times before, so her mom let her. Catherine would take the shorter route home, while her mom and brother would take the longer route around Elder Circle. This way, they would be getting home at almost the same time. But once Nancy and Chris got home, with still no sign of Catherine, Nancy sent Chris to go and look for her. But when Chris couldn't find her, Nancy started searching for her by car. Within minutes, they found her laying in the middle of the road on Elder Circle. She was unconscious, but still breathing. According to Nancy, she didn't want to make her daughter lay on the hot pavement, so she picked her up and took her to the hospital. Little Catherine suffered from a fractured skull and never regained consciousness, and sadly, she died later that day. Authorities initially thought that Catherine was a victim of a hit and run, but certain things didn't add up. Where Catherine's body was found was in an unusual spot. Her mom last saw her walking towards their house, but her body was found a little over a mile away from their home in the opposite direction that she was supposed to have gone. Catherine's body was actually found along the route that her mom and brother took to get home, and the autopsy only deepened the mystery. The autopsy showed that Catherine didn't die from a hit and run. Along with her head injury, she also had abrasions on her left shoulder, lower back, right hip, and her knees. The ME found that Catherine had either jumped, fallen, or was thrown from a moving vehicle. One theory investigators came up with was that Catherine maybe tried to hold on to the back of her mom's car on the drive home, but fell off. This would explain the location of where her body was found. But her family did not believe this, so they hired a PI. The PI noted that it was a really hot summer day, and at the time, Catherine's left thumb was broken and in a splint, so it would have been really difficult for her to hold on to anything. And it's likely her mom would have seen her in the rearview mirror. Catherine's family believes she was abducted and murdered. After her death, investigators brought in a canine unit that tracked her scent to a vacant lot 30 yards from the mailboxes, but it was lost after that. This sparked a theory that Catherine was approached by an attacker at the mailboxes, ran into the lot, was caught and thrown into a car, struck in the head, and then was thrown out of the vehicle where she was found. Nancy also stated that it appeared her daughter's body was laid out for her to find. Her hair was smoothed down, her clothes were straight, and her sandals were still on. Unfortunately, there's never been any answers in this case, and it's still labeled a suspicious death. John Bon Jovi wrote a song dedicated to Catherine called August 7, 415. And sadly, in March of 2020, Catherine's brother Chris, who grew up to be a police officer, was tragically killed in a car accident.
So sad, man.
Oh, shit. Fuck you. Fuck you.
It's gone.
Oh my god, look at the jig goosebumps. Oh my god. What the fuck is that?
What the? You messed with the breaker. Okay, something's wrong with that one.
I'm out here walking the trail. I think I hear or see one of them cart things, or train things. Nobody's running them. I don't even know where the track goes. Or what's up here? It's some kind of haunted, spooky Halloween thing or something. Ah, that's a skeleton. Nope.
Almost hit him. What the heck? What's he clawing at? That was definitely something.
It starts with a feeling, that creeping sensation that something is watching you. You tell yourself it's just the trees, just the shadows playing tricks. But then, you see them. Eyes. Glowing. Staring. Unmoving. They're deep in the darkness, blending into the forest, watching. Some say it's just a trick of the rain, just branches bending in the wind. But others, they know better. They've seen the outline, the movement. Something is there. And once you notice it, you can't look away. Because now, it knows you see it, and it's waiting for you to come closer. It's strange, isn't it? How so many people watch this video and see nothing. Just trees, just rain, just darkness. But then, one person spots it, and suddenly, everyone sees it. It's there, lurking, blending into the shadows like it was never meant to be found. And the scariest part, it doesn't move. It doesn't run. It just waits, watching, almost like it was waiting to be seen. If you haven't spotted it yet, don't worry. You will. And when you do, you'll wish you never looked.
I didn't spot it.
On regarde les étoiles. C'est trop beau. On n'est pas bien là. On n'est pas bien là.
Empty street at night?
Qu'est-ce qu'il y a?
Hit the jets.
C'est quoi ce bordel? Enfin, détective!
Is he on a motorcycle or something? He ain't catching it.
Yeah, I'm nervous.
Haunted ER? We're gonna go. Haunted ER, haunted ER. I'm gonna get to it. Oh my god, my head is huge. Chloe, so I can't even... Huh? You nervous? Why are you nervous?
Haunted hospital?
Are you nervous? Oh, it's a train down here. That's weird.
Is that a dog?
Thanks. Yes, it did. It did. How do you not see that? Oh, okay.
Ooh!
They hit the
As
jets
one of
they
the
knew.
nurses walks further into the room, a hospital curtain suddenly moves on its own. The nurse, terrified beyond belief, bolts out of the room at full speed, feeling completely unsettled. But then, within seconds of this happening, a cane mysteriously falls on its own.
She noticed these weird dolls in her friend's house while taking care of their child, and it didn't end well.
Guys, I'm babysitting and I just found the creepiest. Look at this. What is it? It's
so creepy. It's freaking me out. Is this real, huh? Oh my god. And like,
At first, she found it funny, but then realized that the doll wasn't there when she first got to the house, and the emotions started to escalate when she entered the kitchen and saw another doll.
it's a boy this time. Honestly, it's the creepiest thing I've ever seen. We'll go to ask for the bell. Oh, God.
The video went completely viral, and in the following update, she decided to set up a bait for the dolls to record whatever they're doing, and she caught on camera something absolutely terrifying.
The TV just literally turned itself off by itself, and then the lights started going insane. Let me show you. Max? Guys, guess who I am?
You saw that. In the mirror.
Max, can you come down, please? Max! Okay, I think I'm just gonna get a bit close. It's really freaking me out.
In September 2014, visitors at the Delhi Zoo in India witnessed something so horrifying that it left them in shock. And it was all captured on video. The footage begins near the white tiger enclosure, home to one of nature's deadliest predators. And guys, if you don't already know, white tigers can weigh up to 570 pounds and have a bite force of 1,000 pounds per square inch. That's enough to crush bones like they're made of glass. These predators are capable of bringing down prey 5 times their size. And sure, a human, they wouldn't stand a chance. But what happened next was something nobody could have prepared for. Somehow a 20-year-old man ended up inside the tiger's enclosure. The video shows him crouched on the ground, his movements frantic. His hands flail in desperation as though trying to create some invisible barrier between himself and the tiger. Standing just feet away was VJ, a fully grown white tiger. But surprisingly, VJ didn't attack right away. He stood there staring at the man, almost as if he was trying to figure out what this strange creature was doing in his domain. For a moment, it was silent, tense, but silent. Then chaos erupted. The crowd watching him from the other side of the enclosure began screaming and throwing objects, desperate to distract the tiger. But instead of helping, their panic only made things worse. BJ's calm demeanor shifted in an instant. His ears flattened, his body tense, and his gaze locked on the terrified man. And then it happened. In the flash, BJ lunged, clamping his massive jaws around the man's neck. The crowd screamed as the tiger dragged the man across the enclosure like a lifeless doll. The camera follows VJ as he drags his prey to a corner of the enclosure away from the crowd. And here's where the footage becomes even harder to watch. BJ's jaws remain locked around the man's neck, almost as if he's waiting for his victim to bleed out. In the background, the sounds of children crying and screaming pierce the air, making the scene even more unbearable. Tragically, the man didn't survive. It was later revealed that the man who jumped into the enclosure was suffering from mental health issues.
Man. It's a terrifying story.
This ring in a box. I'm like, oh, my ring fell off. No, it didn't. It's the same. I'm shaking. It's so weird.
And it's brown. Okay. Rusty brown. What color does it look like? Still brown with a light brown. Okay, you ready? Is that a different kind of light? What? What? Are those different bulbs? What is going on? Do you have different bulbs in there?
It's also neon light. That's
It's so crazy.
Switching colors. First time I seen that. Oh, that plane got, it's glitched in the Matrix, man.
Yo, who left their shadow, bro? Like, nobody's here. Like, nobody's here. Who left their shadow? Come get it. It's at Planet Fitness. If you want your shadow back, it's right there. Hold on, clear. It's like, you can't see, bro. Oh, there it is.
How's there somebody standing in the corner? They wasn't even in the same house. Interesting.
Babe,
So what he caught on camera?
are you upstairs?
Some trying to play tricks on his mind. So it seems like to me.
Mom, what's wrong? Mom? Mom, what's wrong? Mom, are you okay, Mom? Mom? She's gone. Mom? Mom?
This lady married her dead boyfriend. In 1978, in a small town in Ohio, there was a woman named Linda Smith who was deeply in love with her boyfriend. They were about to marry, but her boyfriend tragically died in a car accident. Linda was devastated. Her boyfriend, named Lemmy Leaf, was the best boyfriend ever to her. One evening, Linda couldn't take it anymore, and she dug up her boyfriend's grave with the help of her two brothers. What happened next is frightening, but remember that I can only protect my followers who comment their name. She announced she was still going to marry him. The townspeople were shocked. Linda planned a wedding party and invited everyone, wearing a white dress beside Max's corpse in a suit. Then came the twist. Linda didn't plan on returning her boyfriend to his grave. Instead, she decided that they will live together and have a family. All her friends and family saw her as a mad woman, but she didn't care. She kept her boyfriend inside a refrigerator and would occasionally bring him out for a walk. About 11 months later, she got pregnant. But how did she got that child?
It's eerily disturbing. She couldn't let go. Seems like she was just playing tricks with herself, man. Couldn't accept reality.
ਮੁਰਲਾ ਜੱਸੂ ਦਾ ਪੁੱਠਾ ਹੋਏ ਮੁਰਲਾ ਜੱਸੂ ਇਹ ਆ ਗਈ ਤਾਂ ਉਰੀ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਹਾਏ ਹਾਏ ਇਹ ਗਰਦਨ ਵੀ ਪੁੱਠੀ ਹੋ ਇਹ ਤਾਂ ਭੈੜੀ ਚੀਜ਼ ਹੋਏ ਚੜ ਗਿਆ ਨਵਾਂ ਸਾਲ ਜੱਸੂ ਤੇਰਾ ਦਾ ਚੜ ਗਿਆ ਇਹ ਭੱਜ ਲੈ ਜੱਸੂ
Back up slowly.
Amy.
That you?
Yeah, it is.
Prove it?
Prove it?
Yeah, prove it.
What do you mean, prove it?
I don't know.
I've been face down in a ditch for 2 hours. I'm trying to save your buddy, okay? I don't think there's much left I have to prove. Okay, if you can come back, that'd be nice. Okay, I don't know where this thing is or when it's gonna.
The hell was that? Skinwalker? I'll have to call Cap on that one. Cap.
On November 24th of 2023, a school janitor is walking through an empty hallway that other custodians don't like being in during the night shift. The high school where this video takes place doesn't allow students to be alone inside this hallway after a specific time, and for good reason. This school was built on a cemetery. Throughout the school, photos of the old cemetery can be found displayed on the walls, including fragments of headstones that were once there. Janitors claim that the place is haunted. One night, a school custodian decides to record a video after having a strange encounter. But as he records, something happens that terrifies him beyond belief. This is his video. Watch.
Let's check it out.
Alright, I usually don't record while I'm on the job. But this is freaking me out. It's sort of unreal. I'm here at work. I'm here in the janitor's closet. Yeah, let me just show you guys.
Empty as it should be.
Just to, I don't know, let you guys know this school was built on a cemetery. I don't know if that helps my my situation or not, but previous janitors that have worked here have tried to tell everyone that, you know, every night something happens, some spooky shit. I don't know, paranormal or whatever you want to call it, but yeah, I didn't really believe him until tonight.
But you're so working there.
I was in here cleaning up after some students had thrown a party, but what's been freaking me out is this one right here. No matter where I'm at in the classroom or what I decide to do, it just follows me. And do your thing, you stupid balloon.
Pop it.
Got you on camera now, so let's just see? That right there.
Who builds a school on top of a cemetery? That ain't right. And it looks like it is following him. That's that it balloon, bro. Slowly back away.
See, no.
It's like it's connected to him. Man, just pop it, bro. That's the only way you gonna be free of this.
It just follows me no matter what.
Yeah, no, we definitely popping that.
No, I can't.
In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Fucking dog is crying like that because there's something like disturbing everybody. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, I ask everything in this house to leave my house this instant. The dog seems more quiet now. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, I ask you to leave this house now. I ask you to leave this house.
Got the spare water too. You ready?
Wait, you missed it. Look at the Bible. I'll play it again. Guys, this video that you are watching has been drowning the energy off of me. It has been making me super tired. The activities here has been going from bad to worse. I am exhausted right now. I haven't sleeping in like a couple days just due to the fact that I have been experiencing all of this. Continue watching, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's getting even worse and worse. Continue watching.
In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, I ask you to leave this house.
Douse that whole room. Keep going. That is kid.
Scary creatures caught in Appalachia, Part 2.
I look like a skinwalker in the first one. Out there camping.
Estos son algunos videos aterradores grabados en los bosques. Te presento las evidencias. Mi nombre es Alberto Martínez. Este es un caso muy famoso. Se trata de Sergei, el cazador ruso que está dentro en la taiga siberiana, donde ahí pasaría su peor pesadilla, porque algo o alguien quería acabar con él. Sin duda, un video muy inquietante, pero te presento las partes más importantes.
Let's check out this strange video. I'm out.
Frappa can also stroke.
That's a person.
Mason? No, that's not Mason, man.
After losing their friend Mason in the sewers for 2 weeks, they finally found him. Or did they? In this unsettling clip, a group searches for their friend Mason, who's been missing for 2 weeks in the sewers. The tension builds until one of them spots Mason, or so they think. But then comes the bone-chilling realization, that's not Mason, man. The eerie glow in his eyes and his haunting expression sent shivers down viewers' spines.
Who is it?
Many drew comparisons to the movie As Above, So Below, claiming Mason had seen horrors beyond comprehension. Comments poured in with people terrified and questioning what Mason might have encountered in the darkness. The moment Mason appears, or rather someone who looks like Mason, has haunted viewers since the video was uploaded. The unsettling vibe, combined with the phrase, "That's not Mason, man," struck a nerve. Some noted the eerie redness of his eyes, while others speculated on what unspeakable experiences he might have endured. With over 1 million views, the video has sparked endless debates, leaving everyone wondering, what exactly did Mason, or whoever this is, see down there? The creator has promised an update, but until then, the mystery remains unsolved. Let me know what you think down in the comments below.
Might have saw something, man, that damaged the psyche. Shell shock.
I cannot believe this just happened. You have to try this. Trust me. Take a water bottle. Any water bottle, right? Just water. Fill all your pockets with double A's. That's very important. Literally every single pocket, just fill it with AA batteries. Grab one of these like big extension cords, put it on your neck, and grab a polo mitt, but keep the wrapper on. Don't take the wrapper off. Tuck it inside of your jeep. Watch what happens. This is insane. Look. It just stops. Look, there's like no gravity.
It's like a magnet. You supercharge yourself.
Crazy things that were considered completely normal in the past. Foot binding. Foot binding was a painful practice in ancient China that involved tightly binding young girls' feet to prevent them from growing to their full size. This practice was considered a symbol of beauty and femininity and was often associated with higher social
Facts that will ruin your life. Baby chicks, while very sweet, are often grinded up. In many large factories, if they're baby roosters, they're just tossed into a grinder. Pretty gross. Did you know that in the United States alone, every year, around 2,500 people die from using right-handed equipment that were originally left-handed? Sucks to be left-handed. George Bush Sr. was the only man to survive after his plane was shot down in World War II by Japanese soldiers. Out of the 9 men that were cannibalized and eaten on by Japanese soldiers, Bush was somehow the only one to survive. Hopefully you like boogers because Inuit mothers actually suck the snot out of their baby's nose. Nasty. Did you know there's actually 200 corpses right now on Mount Everest?
Due to the body's elevation, they're actually left up there and perfectly preserved to the extreme climate and temperatures. They're used as guide points for climbers and hikers. Comment and let me know which fact disturbed you the most.
Basically it's a graveyard, man. That's
This
the
is
best way to
without a
put
doubt
it.
the creepiest mugshot I've ever seen. This is 33-year-old Solomon Galligan. He is an S offender that tried to kidnap a little boy from an elementary school in Colorado. This entire ordeal happened last Friday, and he went up to multiple children. Before police arrived, he tried to grab the young boy and flee, but that was unsuccessful, so he just fled to begin with. He was later caught by police and charged with 1 count of kidnapping. As a result, the elementary school and the surrounding areas are increasing security and police presence. But bro, this mugshot is definitely the creepiest shit I've ever seen. There's not a single feeling of remorse or regret in those eyes. He's now being held on a $25,000 bond. He had a similar incident in 2012 and he failed to register as an offender. Now, luckily, the little boy that he tried to kidnap was unharmed. And this also happened while the kids were at recess. I'm not sure how this happened. I feel like when I was growing up in recess, all of the teachers would be watching us.
Yeah.
They definitely need to step up security. Let me know what you guys think about this case in the comment section below. And as always, these videos are for informational purposes only.
Movie bloopers that are better than the actual movie. In The Dark Knight, while Joker sits in a jail cell, he overhears Detective Gordon get promoted to commissioner. Naturally, the rest of his squad applauds him, but then they hear the Joker clapping in the background. The Joker's creepy clap wasn't in the script, but it fit the scene so well they kept it in. In the show Friends, Matthew Perry actually hits his head on a filing cabinet.
Please, just...
Well, this was a total accident, and Jennifer Aniston's reaction was completely genuine. In this scene in Spider-Man Homecoming, Tony Stark leans over to open the door, but Peter Parker hugs him instead. This wasn't in the script, but Tom Holland thought it would be funny, which led to Robert Downey Jr. improvising this line on the spot.
That's not a hug, I'm just grabbing the door for you. We're not.
Classic.
In How the Grinch Stole Christmas, in this scene, everything was supposed to fall off when Jim Carrey pulled the tablecloth. But it didn't go as planned, so he had to improvise. This wasn't in the script, but it was so funny they kept it in.
Records that will never be broken again. Number 1, the woman with the most children. Back in the 1800s, a Russian woman named Vasiliev gave birth to 69 total children. She had 16 pairs of twins, 7 triplets, and 4 quadruplets. And no one has come close to matching that number since. Number 2, the most nuclear explosions ever survived. This is Tsutomu Namaguchi. He has survived 2 different nuclear explosions. Tsutomu was on a business trip when the first nuclear bomb was dropped on Hiroshima in 1945. After miraculously surviving that explosion, he returned to his hometown of Nagasaki just in time to witness the second atomic bombing. But again, he miraculously survived and lived till the age of 93.
Facts that will probably keep you up at night. One of your photos that you have today will be used in your funeral. There are more slaves today than any other time in history. According to the founder of the Walk Free Foundation, there are 46 million slaves in the world today. Your eyes can still move after your death for 15 to 30 seconds. Watching TV for more than 2 hours a day can shorten your life expectancy by 1.4 years. In 1977, we received a radio signal from space that lasted 42 seconds. To this day, no one knows where that signal came from. A lit candle causes more than 15,000 house fires every year. Spider rain could happen at any moment above you. Bill Skarsgård, who played Pennywise in the 2017 version of It, was born in 1990, the year the original It was released. Yeah.
Those are some creepy coincidences, man. Spider rain? I've never heard of something like that before, but I definitely don't want to experience that, man. Imagine you just walking outside, normal day, just see a whole bunch of freaking spiders coming down. You like, what in the world is this world coming to, man? How does something like that even happen?
If you see him while you're awake, run.
So this story actually comes from a Reddit user who's a therapist. And this user had a patient who was coming in complaining of seeing Hatman at night. This patient would apparently wake up in the middle of the night to see Hatman standing at the foot of their bed, watching them sleep. And as a result, they were not really sleeping much. So the therapist prescribed some pretty heavy sleeping medication, and as a result, the patient starts getting a little better. But then one day, the patient comes in and just looks like they had seen a ghost. So the therapist asked them what was wrong, and they said that as they were getting in the car to come to therapy, they saw Hatman standing across the street during the day. This therapist had only ever heard of Hatman when it came to patients waking up in the middle of the night and seeing him, never when they were already awake doing things in the middle of the day. So the patient is terrified, but the therapist thinks this might be a side effect of the medication. It takes a little while to get used to. But that was the last time the patient ever came to see the therapist.
Yeah, man, is he real? Cap.
Scary facts that will blow your mind, Part 2. The Hoia Baciu Forest is considered the most haunted forest in all of Romania. Hundreds of people have gone missing within these woods, among other things like screams, laughter, babies crying, people being attacked by unseen paranormal forces, strange balls of light, UFOs, and in the very center of the forest lies a clearing where no plant life will grow. It is believed that this spot is a portal to another dimension. What do you think? Like and follow for more.
Okay, that one, the most haunted freaking forest of Romania, man, where all those plants not growing, and how they said it can be ported there. I definitely want to check up on that one, because that sounds interesting, man. Like, no plants are going in that whole open area. That space is just like a freaking, look like a crop circle. What do you guys think? Is that a dimension to another
incident has
reality?
made people on the internet so upset because this woman went up to a teen and pulled down her skirt because she thought it was too short. Even if you think this skirt is too short, I think we can all agree that you cannot go up to a child and touch them. The teen said that this woman approached her from behind and basically put her hand in her area. This woman, who is a 49-year-old Ida Lorenzo, said to the girl and her friends, "I happen to work for the state, and if I have to see your cheeks hanging out again, I will call CPS."
I happen to work for the state, and if I have to watch your cheeks hanging out again, I will call CPS.
Now, let's be real for a second. If this was a man who did this to a young girl, police would be called immediately and there would be no excuses. They were waiting at a restaurant to be seated, and she basically felt like it was inappropriate for this young girl to be dressed like this in front of everyone. Which, if you feel that way, then you can leave. You should never be putting your hands on anyone. She was eventually charged with sexual battery, which I'm glad, because you can't be putting your hands on anyone, especially kids.
She said it perfectly. No words needed on that clip. Everything to a T.
Here are 5 regular things that are illegal in North Korea. Number 1, wearing jeans. In North Korea, wearing jeans is a symbol of their enemy America. Number 2, turning off the radio. All houses come with a government-installed radio that makes announcements through the day. Number 3, practicing religion. Reading a Bible can get you publicly executed. Number 4, watching foreign films. Watching foreign films can get you executed or sent to a labor camp. And number 5, listening to foreign music. All music has to be Kim Jong-un approved.
As you were taught that you probably
Never
still
going to
believe.
North Korea.
Number 1, that cracking your knuckles will cause arthritis. While cracking your knuckles might sound and look damaging, it does not cause arthritis. That loud pop that you hear when you crack your knuckles is caused by bubbles bursting in your synovial fluid, and the bubbles pop when you pull the bones apart. Blood in your veins is blue. If you look down at your arm, you can probably see your veins and see they look blue. However, your blood is not actually blue in your veins. Blood is either red or dark red, but never blue. Your veins look blue because of your skin. Blue light does not penetrate human tissue as deeply as red light does, and as a result, veins that are close to the surface of the skin will be more likely to reflect blue light back to your eyes. You can hear the sound of the ocean in shells. This is a myth. The sound you hear when you put a shell against your ear has nothing to do with it being from the ocean. It's actually part of the background noise around you. just turned up a little bit by the shell. So if you're next to the ocean, the shell picks up the sound of the ocean, the alpha wolf. There's actually no such thing as an alpha wolf. This idea was brought about in a paper from the 1970s, but the author later said in a paper that he rejected the idea of an alpha wolf. While it's true that multiple wolves who share a small space in captivity will develop alpha and beta-like hierarchies, wild wolves behave nothing like this. In the wild, a wolf pack is typically formed by monogamous parents and their puppies, and the wolf pack is basically a tightly knit family consisting of parents or breeders and their offspring, not an alpha and beta.
Trying to find a loophole. Disgusting.
Wait. You don't remember what she looks like.
How rare is your body? Let's find out. About 75% of people have a deviated septum, and this is a condition in which the bone and cartilage that divide the nose in half are crooked, making one nasal passage smaller than the other, and it's known to cause nosebleeds, problems breathing, or loud breathing when you're sleeping. Less than 1% of people have an extra finger crease, and it's also called camptodactyly, and it's just when you have an extra little ridge on your fingers, and it is most common on your pinky.
Ooh.
Less than 1% of people have an eyeball scar. This is also called a macular pucker, and it's just scar tissue that forms in your eye. And it's known to cause blurred or distorted vision. And it's caused when the vitreous, which is the gel-like part of your eye, starts to pull away from the retina. Less than 1% of people can hear colors or see sounds. For example, this could happen as soon as someone hears a sound, they automatically see the color red, or as soon as they read a word, a certain color pops into their mind. About 33% of people experience motion sickness, and this 33% are highly susceptible to motion sickness, while the rest just experience it in extreme conditions. And it's caused when your brain starts to get signals from your body that it's moving, but they're mismatched and don't match up.
Here's some Disney Channel stars that went to...
Do I have any of those? Or is any of the Seeker's bodies weird, man? Does they have that extra, we said, I guess cartilage on your pinky or eyeball scars? I didn't even know an eyeball could get a scar.
to jail, but each time the crime gets worse. Starting off, Mitchell Musso, who played Oliver Oken in Hannah Montana, was pulled over in 2011 for driving under the influence. He was only 20 at the time and was arrested and released on bail. Because of this, his character was written out of Parrot Kings and his show Prank Stars was canceled. Next up, Adam Hicks, who played Luther on Zeke and Luther and had a starring role in Lemonade Mouth, was arrested a couple times, but most recently for an armed robbery with his girlfriend. His sentencing was delayed multiple times due to mental health evaluations and was eventually given a 5-year sentence. But he's now currently on parole and making music on TikTok. Moving on, Lindsay Lohan was Disney's golden child in the early 2000s, starring in iconic movies such as The Parent Trap, Freaky Friday, and Mean Girls, before getting into trouble with the law. She's been arrested for driving under the influence, drug possession, violating her probation, a theft charge, and has even had a bench warrant out for her arrest. And finally, Phil Lewis, who played Mr. Mosby on The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, was arrested and charged for vehicle manslaughter after killing a 21-year-old girl while drunk driving. When they tested his blood alcohol, it was 3 times the legal limit. He was originally given a 5-year sentence, 2 years of probation, and 350 hours of community service, but ended up only serving 1 year due to his work with prison-based theater groups that performed in jails, churches, and schools to highlight the consequences of drug abuse.
After breaking up in the 50s,
Childhood.
these two high school sweethearts are now newlyweds at 82 and 85. Eddie and Caroline dated for years in high school, and they spent so much time together that Caroline was known as Eddie's girl around their Nashville town. And when Eddie graduated a few years before Caroline, she had hoped for his class ring as a sign of commitment, but Eddie wasn't ready, and he was about to leave their hometown for the ROTC program at the University of Tennessee when he dropped her off at her house one evening in 1959 without giving her a class ring and with no mention of the future. Caroline knew that their relationship was over. She says that she recalls running into her house and crying for that entire night, and then the two went on to live completely separate lives, including Caroline winning Miss Nashville the same year that Eddie left. In 1961, they both married other people and shortly thereafter had children and raised families. Eddie spent 21 years as a pilot in the Air Force, and Caroline became an interior designer and an author. But in 2001, Caroline lost her husband, and in 2021, Eddie lost his wife. A year later, in 2022, Eddie felt compelled to reach out to Caroline, and he says he called 9 times before she answered, but when she did, the spark was still there. With 6 decades of catching up to do, they met back up in Nashville, and just 3 months later, Eddie asked her to marry him. He wanted to get her a traditional engagement ring, but she said that all she wanted was his high school class ring, just like all those years ago. Now, as newlyweds in their 80s, they say that they feel just like kids again. I'm Jen, and I post something positive every day.
It's true love. Really, works through. They found each other, man, after all that time. Can you even imagine that, living separate lives? You come back and marry your first love. That's a great story. We need something positive every day.
Mason TV was able to trick Spotify into sending him Harry Styles' 1 billion streams plaque, so he decided to put it to good use. He created a TikTok account with the username SecretSue94, later changed to Sue Manella, playing on Harry Styles' nickname Sue, known within his fandom. He created multiple vines Harry made in 2013, adding subtle clues like a drawn-on cross tattoo to make it seem more authentic, and even getting pink carpet for his stairs to match Harry's stairs. He developed a multiverse of fake TikTok accounts for Harry's friends to lend credibility to the main account. He went to great lengths, including dressing up as Harry, painting his nails, and having fake paparazzi photos taken to show Harry with a Spotify plaque and using TikTok on his phone, which helped him spread the belief in the account. Overnight, fans all over social media and even major media outlets were speculating about its authenticity. Millions of people talking about the account led it to going viral and amassing over 600,000 followers.
This man left his 2-year-old toddler in a hot car while he went to go play video games. Not only is this case super disturbing because of what he was doing while his 2-year-old daughter was strapped in this hot boiling car, but apparently he's done this so many times before. All happened on July 9th when 37-year-old Christopher Schultz arrived home at 12:50 and his daughter was strapped into her car seat and she was sleeping, so he decided to leave her in there because he did not want to wake her up, and he had left the AC on as well. Christopher's wife Erica arrived home at 4 p.m. from work and she found their 2-year-old daughter still strapped in the car. At this point, this poor little girl was already gone, and when paramedics arrived, there was nothing they could really do. Now, while Christopher claims that the AC was on, it turns out that it actually turned off only 30 minutes after he left to go inside. This means that she was left in this 180-degree boiling car for about 2.5 hours. At first, Christopher lied and said that he had left her in there for about 30 to 45 minutes and had checked up on her multiple times, but after they investigated and saw home surveillance footage of a neighbor, they noticed that she was actually in there for about 3 hours.
How long was she sleeping in the car out there? I want to say it was no more than 30-45 minutes. And I don't think their air was off that entire time. I think there was a time in between. I checked on her last. It was still running. She was still sleeping. And then when she went back out, the car was off.
Like I said, he's done this so many times before, according to his other daughters. And his wife also sent him a text message saying, "I told you to stop leaving them in the car. How many times have I told you?" But what I also found so weird is that his wife also sided with him, and she got really upset when police arrested Christopher. I don't understand how she has any type of sympathy for this man who just took your baby's life because he was playing video games. He was warned multiple times about this, so there is no excuse. Christopher was originally charged with 2nd-degree M, but then it was changed to 1st-degree, and he pleaded not guilty. If he gets convicted, he does face.
These are the world's freakiest sea animals.
Okay.
In July 2022, people in Chile gathered around to see what a fishing boat caught off their shore. The creature was 16 feet long, and the video got 20 million views when it was posted online, because people were debating whether or not this was an actual sea monster. But I'm sad to say it's not. This is an oarfish, a fish that typically lives about 3,000 feet below the surface. Next, at Laguna Beach in May 2021, people were shocked when they saw a terrifying football-looking fish washed up on the shore. This was a Pacific football fish, a fish that usually lives 3,000 feet under the surface. Basically, remember that terrifying light bulb fish from Finding Nemo?
Yep.
That's this guy. They're actually so rare that even marine biologists know very little about this species and what causes causes them to wash up on shores. And in 2022, a fisherman named Sean Bailey was sailing around off the coast of San Diego when he spotted a weird ghost-looking creature floating on the surface of the water. But after a few minutes, it started moving again because it was just sunbathing. This is a mola mola, or an ocean sunfish. These fish live 660 feet below the ocean surface and prey on jellyfish, and then warm up by sunbathing on top of the surface. And this allows seagulls to eat the parasites off its body. So for them, it's kind of like a free trip to the spa.
These villagers dig up their dead family members every 3 years, and you won't believe why. These people are from a village in Indonesia, and during their Minime festival, they get their ancestors' corpses, clean them, then put them all out to dry, and dress them in new clothes as a ritual. And the reason is because they believe they're showing them love and respect.
This is why you should be scared of mirrors. Reddit user Liberated Man said that when he was about 12 years old, he woke up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom. He walked across the hall to the bathroom, hit the lights, and was about to reach for the toilet when he glanced up and saw a face in the mirror. It wasn't his face. He said that it was as if someone was on the other side, standing to the right, with their face right next to the glass, staring at him. He only saw it for the briefest moment, but it seared into his brain. He screamed and ran out to find his dad. His dad, of course, investigated and then calmed him down, or tried to. They had a prayer session because he was so freaked out. Eventually, he went back to sleep. He said that fast forward to his 30s, he had forgotten all about the event until one night, while visiting, his dad quietly brings it up. He said, "Remember that one time you saw a face in the mirror?" It suddenly came back to him in a rush of a memory, sending a chill down his spine. He said, "Yeah, I remember." And then his dad said, "Well, sometimes I think about that night." He looked down at the floor with a serious expression, and then he said, "I saw it too." He went on to describe exactly what Reddit user Liberated Man had seen. Neither of them have any idea what it was. Apparently, when his dad went to investigate, he saw it and had a freak out of his own. And the prayer session was as much for his own nerves as it was his son's.
So they both saw the same thing. So they weren't tripping there. And a Reddit user saw the same thing too, so maybe those two stories are linked. It's a creepy rabbit hole you gotta get into. That's an edit, man. Call them out.
Yeah! Scientists just did something you are not going to appreciate. Trust me, you're going to want to favorite this video because this could be the start of something horrendous. Because they thought today was a brilliant day to cut open 200 million year old parasitic eggs that they found in fossilized feces. You know, dinosaur shit. They found one of the earliest predators were infested with roundworms, otherwise known as nematodes, and other parasites. I feel like I shouldn't need to say this. Don't fucking do that! I swear after 2020 we've learned nothing! And this hasn't come long after scientists revived a previously extinct ancient worm. But don't worry, that's another horror for another day. I'll be the first to say it, I do feel like we're opening Pandora's box. We revive an ancient parasite out of the good of our hearts and then it gets out of control and destroys the world. These are the parasite samples, by the way, if you wanted to see them. They are being called Morphotype 4. Bear in mind, we are nervous about permafrost melting and releasing ancient pathogens and diseases into our worlds. And now we're willingly sawing open dinosaur shit that includes a parasite. I mean, does 1 + 1 = 5? Personally, I'm not a fan of this one, so send this to a friend because they need to know what's going on. I'm terrified. Forbidden places.
Why would we even do that, bro? With all that's going on in the world right now, we think that's a good idea to examine some parasites that probably went extinct a million years ago because it was in dinosaur crap. Now we're trying to reintroduce it. It's just gonna decimate the ecosystem, man. Why do we do this to ourselves? Why?
Is that you can never visit. Snake Island is an island off of the coast of Brazil, filled with deadly snakes. Rising sea levels cause this piece of land to become an island, allowing for the snakes to flourish in their own environment. There are now up to 5 snakes every square meter, and you are not allowed to go here. In Svalbard, Norway, there is a global seed vault, aka the Doomsday Vault. It is the world's seed bank, storing samples of crops from all over the world just in case of a global catastrophe. The tomb of Qin Shi Huang in China holds an army of warriors made of clay.
It protects the burial spot of the first emperor of China who died in 210 BC, and we only discovered this tomb in 1974. Paveglia Island in Italy was used to exile hundreds of thousands of victims of the plague. It is said to be one of the most haunted places on Earth, and a dark local legend says that 50% of the soil is made up of human remains. Follow for more.
Don't go there, bro. Most haunted place in the world.
Was this the worst form of medieval punishment? If you found yourself as a prisoner in a medieval castle, you may be subject to the dungeon, torture, or even execution. But what could be worse? Well, let me tell you about the oubliette, also known as the Forgotten Room. This was a specialized type of prison in some medieval castles, perhaps for the worst of offenders. It was a narrow shaft, sometimes 8 feet deep, with only one entrance and exit, a trapdoor located on the ceiling. The shaft being so narrow that the individual would be forced to stand. They couldn't kneel, they couldn't sit, they could barely turn around. To fall alone into the oubliette would sometimes break bones. In some cases, these would even be built into the upper walls of the castle, so the victim could hear the hustle and bustle of castle life, but could not escape. Depending on the situation or individual, they might throw you some food and water if you were to be kept alive. In most cases, you were subject to stand there, starve to death, and then be devoured by vermin. The most you could do was stand there, look up at the grate, and realize you cannot escape. Oh yeah, did I also mention sometimes jagged stones would be placed at the bottom? And of course, you were also subject to stand in your own waste. Lep Castle, which is located in Ireland, had quite an active oubliette. So many skeletons were discovered in one in the 1920s that it took 3 cartloads to transport them off the property. Between the sleep deprivation, the starvation, the psychological torture, and the claustrophobia, I think this is the worst form of medieval torture.
Definitely up there, man. You're just standing. Say can't bend, can't do anything. Up street all that time. That's insane. It's another edit, man. Like I said, if you guys see any edits, call them out too. We learning together.
Facts that I wish I didn't know. When you die, the last thing to go is your hearing. So as all your other mortal sensations are leaving this world, the last thing you're ever going to experience are the sounds going on around you, which very well could be like your family members crying or cheering. By the year 2050, there's going to be more plastic in the ocean than fish. When pigs get a cold, like a cough, very often they will shoot their intestines out of their anus, and farmers have to, like, stuff it back in.
Never knew that. What the hell, pigs?
Fun fact, Michel Lotito, aka Mr. Eats Everything, was a French performance artist who once ate an entire Cessna 150 airplane. Holding the Guinness World Record for strangest diet, Michel first became aware of his strange affliction when he was 9 years old, and the glass he was drinking from broke, and he began chewing on the broken glass fragments and liked them. Throughout the course of his life, he consumed 8 bicycles, 15 supermarket trolleys, 7 TV sets, 6 chandeliers, 2 beds, also a waterbed full of water, a pair of skis, a coffin, 1,600 feet of steel chain, a ton of random stuff like glasses, plates, and razor blades, and of course, a Cessna 150 airplane. He began eating the plane in 1978 and spent 2 years consuming it bite by bite, cutting the plane into edible pieces about 1 to 2 centimeters long until he finally finished his meal in 1980. To protect his stomach and intestines from getting pierced by any sharp objects, Mr. Lotito would consume a ton of mineral oil and water during his meals to help the metal, glass, or whatever else move through his system. Michel Lotito passed away in 2007 at the age of 57 from natural causes.
My man ate a whole plane. If you would have told me that a couple of days ago, I wouldn't have believed you. I'm gonna have to look him up, see what else he ate, bro. Any other world records? He had that broken many, man. Eating
These are the world's
that type of
freakiest land
things.
animals. In 2022, a TikToker named Caustica uploaded a video that showed a weird-looking creature running around his backyard. Once the video went viral, wildlife experts took to the comments to explain that it was a lesser blind mole rat, and this is because of how its tiny eyes are nearly tucked under its skin. They spend most of their time underground creating tunnels with their massive teeth. In 2020 in British Columbia, a woman was walking around when she saw a bug that looked like a tarantula with wings. She then shared a photo of the bug to Facebook, where wildlife experts explained that this was a very big moth called a polyphemus moth. These moths have huge bodies, and despite their scary looks, they don't have mouths to bite. And they have a lifespan of about 2 weeks. weeks. And in 2024 in Sydney, Australia, a TikToker named Blonde heard a weird tapping sound coming from her window at night, and she went to investigate. And what she found is like something out of nightmares. At her window, a bat was tapping on the glass, trying to find a way to escape the storm. And it stayed around until the next morning, where Blonde had to call a bat expert to come remove it. But this turned out to be a non-aggressive species of a bat known as a flying fox. And they only eat fruit or flowers. They also struggle to keep warm when they're wet, which explains why it was at her window. Now I just feel sorry for the little guy.
What is the dirtiest country in the world? Well, firstly, the cleanest country in the world is Denmark. It's also labelled the most environmentally friendly. But what country is the dirtiest? In 5th place, it's Pakistan. Pakistan is home to the world's most polluted city, Lahore, and has become a major problem in Pakistan. The air is voted hazardous for breathing, and Pakistan is also voted 3rd highest for public defecation. In 4th place, it's Bangladesh. Bangladesh suffers from pollution also, mostly from vehicles, factory fumes and dust. The air quality in Dhaka, one of the world's most crowded cities, is also labelled as very poor and dangerous. Serious overpopulation in Bangladesh is also a huge factor contributing to this. In 3rd place, it's Vietnam. Vietnam is very polluted due to the transportation system and the excess cars and motorbikes on the road. The water is very polluted due to trash being thrown away and neglected, and a lot of the popular cities can be covered in litter. In 2nd place, it's Myanmar. Myanmar has suffered badly with trash pollution, but most of all, water pollution. Myanmar have a long-lasting problem with dirty water. More than anything, being a river cleaner is a job, collecting trash such as plastics and cans, then selling it, making up to $10 a day. Finally, in 1st place, it's India. India have suffered really badly from air pollution, trash and hygiene issues. It is #1 in the world for public defecation, and overpopulation has been becoming a concern for India as the country is growing at a very fast rate. Most of the lakes and rivers are poisonous and hazardous, and the pollution in some areas is very severe, making it the most polluted country on Earth. If you enjoy videos like these, please follow our page for more facts.
We learned out here today, Seekers. I didn't know, man. I didn't think India was going to be on that list. Most polluted in the world. We got to do better, man. We got to take care of our planet, bro. We only have on the Earth, man, so we got to do our best to take care of it. I wasn't expecting that. Hey, man, that's why I say these facts. I'm learning just like y'all. Edit, man. I think, man, I'm getting better at spotting the edits. Watching these videos every day with you guys.
Can you believe that this was almost the ghost face mask for Scream? While scouting out locations for the first Scream movie, they stumbled upon a mask in an abandoned house. It was produced by a company named Fun World, and it was called the Peanut-Eyed Ghost. Well, Fun World wanted a little bit too much money for them to use their mask, so they went to the drawing boards. Here are just a few of the concepts that they drew up. Quite different, huh? They were eventually able to come to an agreement, and thus one of the most iconic horror masks of all time was born. This may look like a Wish.com Michael Myers mask, but it's actually from the original movie. 43 years ago, they painted a Captain Kirk mask white, and now we have one of the most iconic horror killers ever. I'm actually impressed with how well it held up over that long. Who is the most realistic psychopath in cinematic history? Starting in 2014, Belgian professor Samuel Leeston wanted to know which movie characters best represented psychotic traits. Over the course of 3 years, him and 10 of his friends watched over 400 movies, spanning from 1915 all the way to 2010, trying to find the best movie psycho. Believe it or not, Norman Bates, Patrick Bateman, and Hannibal Lecter didn't even make the cut. The team believed that their traits did not quite fit the psychopath mold. They all agreed that the best movie psychopath was Anton Chigurh in No Country for Old Men. They wrote that he seems to be effectively invulnerable and resilient to any form of emotion and humanity, and I 100% must agree. Their runners-up were Hans Beckert in the 1931 German film M, and Henry Lee Lucas in Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. Who is your favorite movie psychopath?
These are the safest countries to go if World War III was to stop.
That's mind blowing.
And considering the news at the moment, you might want to sit down, shut up, and listen! So favorite this video, just in case you ever need it. I hope we never do. Now, there are countries all around the world, but let's start with Argentina. Now, if this was to all break out, it's likely that the world would look similar to Terminator 2 Judgment Day at the end. It's likely that all the smoke from all of these will block out the sun, this resulting very quickly in famine and crop failure. But don't panic, because we have Argentina. In Argentina, there are an abundance of resistant crops, such as wheat. This is one of the places on Earth that actually has a chance of surviving World War III. Next up, we have one of the big ones, Switzerland. Now, aside from the fact that it is incredibly neutral when it comes to politics, it has a landlocked geography and mountainous terrain, as well as being one of the countries with an insane amount of underground bunkers. Actually, there's 26,000 of them, which are actually all very hidden, which will mean you will be very safe. As well, just in case there is an invasion, Switzerland literally has booby traps everywhere. It's actually kind of insane and awesome. Next up, we have one of the big ones, Antarctica. Now, barely anyone thinks about going there, which is why it's pretty safe. However, as you can tell, it's a bit fucking cold, so bring a coat. Next up, we have Greenland. Now, it was in this movie, and they all survived. But on top of that, it's remote, mountainous, and politically neutral, making it kind of an ideal refuge point. And on top of that, worst case scenario, you're not too far away from the global seed vaults, which, you know, has a lot of seeds in it for planting, and thus food and survival. There are literally so many more countries on this list. So if you'd like me to go through more countries in a part 2, let me know. And hopefully we'll never need this video. But just in case we do send this to a friend, it could save their life one day. Elon!
One of the biggest mysteries in history has finally been solved. Alright, firstly, in 1915, explorer Ernest Shackleton and his crew set off for a voyage to explore Antarctica. However, before they could make it to Antarctica, the ship they were on, known as the Endurance, got trapped and crushed by the ice. Now, with no other options left, all of the members on board had to navigate a lifeboat hundreds of miles to safety. In this journey to safety, all of the crew survived many storms, even one being a hurricane, until they got onto a rescue boat. Even though they failed to get to Antarctica, this became a famous story because they didn't let a setback crush their spirit. But for over a century, the biggest mystery was, where did the ship end up? And believe it or not, but in 2022, the ship was actually discovered, and they were so close to where they wanted to be. It was found 2 miles underwater, and because of the frigid temperatures, it was actually pretty well preserved.
I think that's just a sign, man. Like I said, they didn't give up. They didn't stop. They literally couldn't, bro. That was their way of survival, man. They didn't give up. They didn't stop. They didn't let that crush their spirits, and they found their way home. But they was like right there, bro. Goes to show you, man. You can literally be right there. You never know, man. You know that's an edit. Stop playing with us.
A few wholesome history facts to brighten your day. In 1957, Northeast Airlines Flight 823 crashed onto Rikers Island. Prison staff and inmates alike ran to help the survivors. To acknowledge the heroic actions of the 57 inmates who helped, 30 were released and 16 got a reduced sentence. When Anthony Smith was 4 years old, he was fitted with a hearing aid, but soon became depressed and refused to wear it, saying, "Superheroes don't wear hearing aids." His mother, desperate for help, reached out to Marvel. In response, they created the superhero Blue Ear in his likeness. The zip-up cardigans that you would always see Mr. Rogers wear were actually made by his mother. She also knitted them for military troops in Pennsylvania. One of them is now located in the Smithsonian Museum. 3 completely useless yet interesting facts. Have you ever wondered why barns are typically painted red? It has nothing to do with the color itself, but for its usefulness. Long ago, different colored paints and sealers weren't an option for farmers. They needed to make sure they found or made a paint or sealer that would protect the wood on their barn. They would seal their barns with linseed oil. They would add milk, lime, and iron oxide. Rust would kill fungi and mosses and worked as a great sealant. It also turned the mixture red in color. Have you ever wondered why there's cotton inside of some pill bottles? The tradition of doing so started in the early 1900s when Bayer would put cotton in their bottles to prevent breakage of their pills during shipment. And finally, what is the purpose of putting your phone in airplane mode when you're riding on a plane? I mean, there's absolutely no way that could cause a problem while you're on an airplane, but it actually could. You see, airplane mode disables all wireless and cellular signals coming from the phone. Believe it or not, those signals could actually interfere with important...
Let's talk a little bit about what's going on.
Airplane mode is a must on a plane.
A lot of the locals there who believe what they're watching is a serial killer on the streets. Somebody who is roaming the city undetected, and it all ties back to Lady Bird Lake and all of the bodies that continue to appear in that lake under very strange circumstances. So they think that this is connected to the nightlife on Rainy Street. Thought being that a lot of young men, while they're out at bars, are getting profiled at these bars. The suspicion is that their drinks are getting drugged and then they are wandering off on foot. Now, pathway-wise, they eventually make their way to Lady Bird Lake, but somebody is following these men. The suspicion being that they are drowned in the lake and that the bodies are recovered. However, there is somebody who is suspected to be a survivor of an alleged attack. So what he remembered was that he was definitely drugged while he was out at a bar and then was on foot. While on foot, he was then crossing a bridge near Lady Bird Lake where he was pushed off by someone. Whoever that mysterious figure was who did push him off the bridge, it's an unknown. And I would say the bigger question is, why are the Austin PD not investigating this?
They need to, but that's what I say, man. When you out, cover your drink. If you walk away, if you have to go to the bathroom and you come back to that drink, might as well just dump it out, get a new drink, man. You don't know what's in it. Learned that very early on, Seekers. It ain't worth it.
This is the case of the girl that vanished into thin air. Her name is Yuki Onishi.
On April 29th of 2005, 5-year-old Yuki was out celebrating Greenery Day with her mother. It's a national holiday in Japan, and what they do is they go out, they celebrate nature, and they collect bamboo shoots. So Yuki, her mom, and 60 other people were out doing this. Yuki was so excited that she found her first bamboo shoot, she showed her mother, and then she ran off to find more. That's when she disappeared and was never seen from again. When they realized that she was nowhere to be found, they actually brought in search dogs and the police. This is where it gets really strange. The dogs followed her scent to the middle of the forest and then just stopped. The scent stopped in the middle of the forest as if she had just disappeared into thin air from that spot.
Whoa.
To this day, she has never been found and no one knows what happened. If you want to hear some theories, come back for part 2.
Creepy last words people said right before dying.
Scary.
Registered nurse Shirley Smith said that she had a very rich patient who was a true Satanist that was dying of cancer. The patient had upside-down crosses and a Satan's Bible by her bedside. Shirley said that she will never forget what happened. It was the middle of the summer, and yet it was so cold and dark in her room that you couldn't even stand it, even in the middle of the day. She said that it got so evil feeling in there that she had to call a priest to pray with her and her aides before they would even enter the room. When the patient passed away, she had not spoken in over 24 hours. And then all of a sudden, she sat straight up and said, "Satan, take me." And then she fell back on the bed. Shirley said that after she passed, the room got bright and extremely warm. Shockingly, when they moved the patient's body, they had to get rid of the mattress because where her body had been, it looked burnt. And the most horrible smell was emanating from the mattress cover. Needless to say, Shirley went to confession immediately because she did not want an evil spirit around her. A nurse said that one of their patients had a serious recurrence and had to be admitted. Over the course of several nights, he had become quite upset during rounds. He kept asking for his wallet, saying that he had to pay the ferryman. The medical student on rotation in the department took a quarter out of his pocket and put it in the patient's hand. The patient then dropped the coin into the cup on his bedstand and calmed down. Later that night, he passed away quietly. The nurse asked what happened. The medical student, who remembered his Greek mythology, said that the patient had to pay Karen, the ferryman, to be taken across the river Styx. A nurse said that he was doing rounds at a hospital. There was one 2-patient room, and one of the patients was a very loud and confused woman who could be quite a handful. On this particular night, she had a roommate who had passed away shortly before the nurse entered the room. She was DNR, so there was no code blue. When he entered the room, he noticed that the elderly lady, who was usually very loud and confused, was sitting quietly with her hands crossed neatly upon her lap. Something was different, and there was this look of serenity on her face. She asked him in a voice that seemed much younger and clearer than before, "Did you see them, young man? They're so beautiful." He said, "No, ma'am, there's no one else here." She said, "They're right next to you, talking to Mrs. Banneker. The angels. They're so beautiful." He said that he instantly felt every hair of his body stand up, and an electric tingle course up and down his spine. "They're not here for me this time," she said.
Or amazing facts that you didn't know. During the winter, if you fill balloons with water and add food coloring, let them freeze and cut the balloon off, you can make giant ice marbles. There's a dog named Faith that was born with no front legs, which has learned to walk on its hind legs. Its owner travels to military hospitals to demonstrate that even a dog with a severe disability can live a full life. There's a 39-year-old chimpanzee named Kanzi that not only knows how to start fires and cook food, but also knows how to make omelets for himself. In 2013, in Belo Horizonte in Brazil, construction workers permanently cemented a truck into the sidewalk after the owner refused to move it. The Canadian Post Office assigned a postal code of HOHOHO to the North Pole, where people can send letters to Santa Claus. In fact, every year about 1 million letters are addressed to Santa Claus, and they respond back in the language in which they were written.
The fact about the dog, bro.
This is why you should never stay awake past 3 a.m. A woman in her early 20s was away from home on a business trip. The night before she was supposed to board her plane, she had trouble sleeping and had this intense fear that someone was staring at her in her room. She was up until 3, tossing and turning until she started to hear whispers. It was a deep voice repeating the words, "I'm coming to get you, I'm coming to get you." But she ignored it and eventually fell asleep. After her plane landed, she was exhausted but drove home anyway. About 30 minutes into her drive, she started hearing the same whispers from the previous night, but she thought it was because she was sleep deprived, so she kept driving. She was almost home when she began to feel sick. Her eyes were watering, her nose was running, and she let out a large sneeze. "Bless you," said the same deep, eerie voice. She quickly pulled into her driveway, hugged her husband, and sat down to tell him what was going on. When this happened,
I can still hear that voice.
Oh, hell no.
Here are some Squid Game details you probably missed. During the six-legged pentathlon, the frontman, aka Player 1, was purposely failing the spinner game, and here's proof. In Season 1, we learned that he's left-handed. He shoots, drinks, and even uses the remote with his left hand. However, during the game, he initially uses his right hand, causing him to miss repeatedly. Then, when time is almost up, he switches back to his left hand and easily completes the challenge. Next, when the coffin crew are searching for the island's secret entrance and the trap door explodes, everyone on the boat reacts except for the captain, because he knew it was a trap all along, foreshadowing his loyalty to the frontman. In Season 1, you were able to see every upcoming game by looking at the drawings on the walls. And in Season 2, 2 new games are actually teased in the background. One drawing resembles monkey bars, while the other drawings look like a chessboard, possibly hinting at a human chess match. And lastly, there's a giant clue that Player 1 from Season 1 is the father of the frontman. So in Season 1, when Player 456 mentions that he doesn't drink regular milk, Player 1 says his son was the same way. And then in Season 2, the frontman offers his milk to Player 222, saying he doesn't drink milk either. Coincidence? Probably not.
these are the crazy...
Bro, I never even noticed those little small details in Squid Games. Season 2, so the old man from the first season was his dad? I didn't know. And those 2 new games that's teased, monkey bars and freaking chess. Squid Game Season 3 about to go crazy. Tell me down below if y'all watch Squid Games.
Craziest things that people have ever survived. This is Roy Sullivan, an American park ranger who lived in Virginia. Roy lived to be 71 years old, which doesn't sound too crazy until you hear his backstory. From 1942 to 1977, Roy was struck by lightning 7 times and survived each one of them. Miraculously, none of the lightning strikes greatly affected Roy, and by the end of his life, people gave him the nickname the Human Conductor. This is a picture of Julianne Kopka. At the age of 17, Julianne survived a plane crash and fell over 2 miles to the ground. She landed in the Amazon rainforest and survived for 11 days by herself.
After fighting to stay alive, Julianne stumbled across a local village that rescued her. Today, Julianne is 66 years old and is alive and well.
This is the smallest country in the world, Sealand. Can that even qualify as a country? If it does, that's freaking a mind-blowing fact to me, man, that a country could be that small. There's no way. That has to be cap, right? This lady just looks like it's floating in sea land. I'm gonna have to look that up. See if there's freaking truth behind that. See that? But they got the passport. Must mean it's true. Sealand, I'm gonna have to look that up, bro. Like I said, I do my own research. Like you guys have to, man, when I watch these clips together with you guys. Trying to confirm things for y'all. You know what this is.
Whatever you do not feel bad for this woman. This woman's name is lovely Kristen Antoinette Johnson, and she had a 6-month-old baby. But one more thing is, she was a severe drug addict, and she would often invite friends over to her house or go to her friends' houses to do drugs. And when she would do this, she would just lock her son up in a car seat and leave him inside the house. And she would place him in the attic where she wouldn't be able to hear him. Well, on this particular occasion, the little baby went 4 days without any food and starved to death. Apparently, the baby had diaper rash so severe his skin was literally falling off. When she found the baby, his body was already decomposing, and she still took him to the ER and got arrested there. And she was sentenced to 20 to 80 years in prison for the murder of her baby.
Just so she can get a high, bro.
She escaped with a second to spare. The drama unfolded at 2 in the morning when the woman arrived home from a long day at work. She says she noticed the stranger lurking outside her building.
So the 50-year-old woman who was seen in that video has to this day still remained unidentified. And on September 23rd, 2021, she was returning home when this man suddenly decided to charge at her. The woman later claimed that she had seen the man and a friend hanging out acting sketchy at the base of her apartments, and that if she hadn't have locked her door the same way that she did and gotten in the nick of time, she still doesn't know what could have happened. I mean, this video is honestly horrifying. I can't imagine someone chasing me to my apartment door and barely being able to lock the door in time to keep them outside. Who knows what this person would have done if they had gotten into the apartment with this woman? It's really frightening. So police at first had no idea who this guy was, but they eventually identified him as 42-year-old Orisha Lucky, and he had 37 prior arrests on his record before that night. 37 different arrests. So after Orisha was arrested, he was charged with attempted burglary, harassment, and criminal trespassing. But it's still, that video is just so frightening, and it really is scary to think of what could have happened if she didn't get the door closed and locked just in time.
A lot of people don't know that Saw is based on a true story, and that the person who committed the crimes that Saw is based on actually contacted the producers after the movie came out and said they liked the interpretation of their work. Here's how it's based on a true story. In the first movie, we have Dr. Gordon and Adam who are locked in the bathroom. Jigsaw has kidnapped Dr. Gordon's wife and daughter. We see the man who has kidnapped Dr. Gordon's family is Zep. However, we find out at the end of the movie that Zep is not Jigsaw. Jigsaw is testing Zep as well. Jigsaw poisoned Zep and said that if you want to get the antidote to this, you have to do whatever I say, you have to follow through with this test. This was inspired by the events of the real-life serial foot tickler. I'm not kidding, there was a guy that was going around breaking into people's homes and tickling their feet. However, when they finally caught the guy, he said that he wasn't the one responsible, he was being told to do all of this by someone else. But they never did catch the official serial foot tickler. The first Saw movie gets released, and the producers and directors get a letter from someone who is claiming to be the serial foot tickler. saying he recognizes his work when he sees it and that he could definitely see where the inspiration came from with the character of Zep and Jigsaw. They actually talk about this in the behind-the-scenes documentary on the first Saw movie. Another thing that I'm sure is supposed to be a reference to this in the first Saw movie, Dr. Gordon is tucking in his daughter for bed. He starts like playing with her feet, doing like, oh, this little piggy, whatever. But that whole scene is happening while Zep is hiding in the closet waiting to kidnap Diana Gordon. I love Saw. Even the stupid crap like this. It all comes back.
There is an eerie...
A serial foot tickler. I've never heard that before till today. I imagine someone if you can bring it into your house tickling your feet. And he wasn't even a mastermind. There's another one above him, bro, that forced him to do that. Maybe he has a foot fetish or something, bro. I don't know.
Ghost town in America that is too dangerous for humans because it's been on fire for over 60 years. The roads leading to it were even covered in dirt to keep people out. But despite this, the town of Centralia still has a population of 4. You see, back in its day, it was a booming coal mining town with thousands living there. But when a fire accidentally spread to the mines underground, it became too large to extinguish. Houses started collapsing, roads began to crack and buckle, dangerous gases started rising into the air, and a 12-year-old child even got sucked into a 150-foot sinkhole. It became so dangerous that the state of Pennsylvania stepped in and offered to buy people's properties off of them so they could leave the town. And because coal seam fires have a massive amount of fuel, it's believed that the fire will continue to burn for another 200 years. But despite the town's zip code being erased off the map, the roads to it being blocked off with mounds of dirt, and even a court order saying that any residents that remain would not be allowed to sell or pass down their homes to anyone, according to a 2020 census, 4 people still remain.
Urban legends that were proven to be real. Part 4. Escalante Petrified Forest. While it is illegal to take anything from Escalante Petrified Forest State Park, there is a legend that says that anyone who takes pieces of petrified wood from the park will be cursed with bad luck, sickness, and even accidents. Park manager Kendall Farnsworth stated in 2014 that he gets about a dozen packages every year containing a piece of wood from the park and an apologetic letter detailing the sender's misfortunes. Follow for next legend.
Hey man, don't take a piece of that wood there, bro. Follow your intuition, man. If anything that even has bad luck, bad energy around me, I'm not even taking that risk. It ain't worth it, bro. I feel like that's karma for stealing as well. Don't take things that don't belong to you. We know what that is.
These are the 4 most haunted dolls in the world. First is the Annabelle doll, which inspired the Conjuring movies, which, as you guys know, is one of the most haunted dolls in the world. She's able to not only move herself, but also move objects, and is supposedly inhabited by an extremely demonic being, forcing her to constantly be in a spirit box. Then have Ruby, which in my opinion is one of the most terrifying due to the fact that it's a porcelain doll, which all of our mothers and grandmothers have. Ruby doesn't do anything crazy, but the scariest part is supposedly the ancestor who had this doll prior passed while holding this doll, and now supposedly inhabits it. And it's a porcelain doll, which makes it absolutely terrifying. Then have Letta, who's a 200-year-old doll found underneath a house in Australia, said to make noises in the night, moved by itself, and the owner has a specific account of when he was moving he heard this doll scream while being in the trunk, screaming, "Let me out. I'm good on everything that." Then you have Robert the doll, who in my opinion is probably the most haunted and cursed doll on this list, said to be so cursed that if you take a picture or look at him without his permission, he can curse you. And this has happened to multiple people who decided to film Robert without his permission. This doll not only moves by itself, the previous owner has made multiple statements of hearing this doll run inside of the attic. On top of that, the neighbors have seen Robert peeking out the window in the 2nd story, while no one was up there. These dolls, they're scary. This is a scary story about I'm Sorry Mommy. One night, a woman was in the kitchen reading a newspaper when she suddenly looked up and saw her 6-year-old son staring at her. She said, "Something wrong, dear?" "I had a nightmare," said the boy, "and I can't sleep." "Well, don't worry, you're safe now," said the mother. "I dreamed I was in bed and heard a sound in Daddy's room," he said. "And when I looked in the door, I saw 2 big black things with white eyes. It came out of the closet and it attacked Daddy." "Don't worry," said the mother in a soothing voice. "It was just a dream. It didn't really happen." The boy then continued saying they ripped him into pieces and then ate him after. And they even licked the blood off the floor. "I thought if I ran away they wouldn't catch me, but they did. They were going to eat me, but they stopped and said, they wouldn't eat me if I promised to..." "To what?" said the mother. "Promise to distract you while they creep up behind you." "I'm sorry, Mommy," said the boy as the mother heard the floorboards behind her creak. The boy then watched with enjoyment as his mother was ripped apart piece by piece, with a giant smile on his face.
This man turned his son into a doll. This is the real story of Charlie McCarthy. McCarthy was a successful ventriloquist in the 1920s, where he presented his own show. This show amazed people in the United States and was a resounding success, but there was something strange about his dummies, specifically a dummy named Edgar, who was part of the main act of the show. Edgar had a peculiar aspect that made it impossible not to look at him. He had very real hands, a very expressive mouth, very scary eyes, and he was also the Charlie's biggest dummy. Something that made this situation even stranger was that Charlie did not let anyone come close to see his dummy. He was the only one who could touch it and keep it in his chest. But one night after a show, Charlie McCarthy was found lifeless in his dressing room, and next to him was his beloved dummy with a slight smile on his face. When the police examined it, they realized that behind the mask was the lifeless body of a child, who was identified as Charlie McCarthy's son.
This couple was sentenced to more than a decade in prison because their pit bulls took their neighbor's life. In February 2023, police were called to a home in San Antonio because two dogs were on the loose and were attacking an 81-year-old man. When they arrived, the 81-year-old man named Ramon Najera was already basically dead, and his wife was also attacked. It was said that the dog owners Christian Moreno and Albelin Schneider trained these dogs to fight. It was also said by neighbors that these dogs were always getting out of the backyard and attacking people. Whenever they told the owners to lock their dogs up, they would get mad and wouldn't really do anything about it. The pit bulls were previously taken by animal care services because they attacked someone, but then were given back to the couple. So because of this, their defense blamed animal services for returning the dogs to them. Again, people complained for years about these two pit bulls and how dangerous they were, but nothing was ever done until this 81-year-old was killed. This couple showed zero remorse or emotion and didn't even apologize to the family for what happened. They both pleaded guilty, and Abelin was sentenced to 15 years in prison and Christian was sentenced to 18 years.
That's correct, Wendy. We all wear masks, metaphorically speaking. Yeah, right.
Is that supposed to be like a
This
from
was
a
the
Maz
world's
movie?
first experiment that proved the air has weight and it exerts a compressive force on everything around us. It was conducted by a German scientist in 1654, where he created two hollow hemispheres that fit tightly together and then removed all the air from inside through the valve. With the vacuum inside, the hemispheres were held together solely by the surrounding atmospheric pressure, and even 16 horses couldn't pull them apart. However, once the valve was open to let air in, they were easily separated.
Now, if you want to hear a scary myth, this is one that actually turned out to be true. So this was like way back in the day, but there was this infamous funhouse called Laugh in the Dark. Like any other kind of funhouse ride attraction that you would go through, it's supposed to scare you. And the whole thing about it was that it was filled with these creepy mannequins, but there was one mannequin that stuck out to everybody. All this time went by with kids who would go up to this mannequin and something seemed off about it because it was so oddly lifelike. Of course, strange mannequins aside, somebody was going to make a buck off this place. So there was a day when a film crew came in because they were going to shoot a movie. With all these mannequins and everything kind of lying around, they had to move things from one place to another. So the director said, can you pull that mannequin and put it to the side? Only for the arm of the mannequin to snap off and reveal human bone. The entire time that kids and the public had been suspecting there was something off with that mannequin, they were right. It was a real human body being used in the funhouse.
Woo! Hey man, somebody took their job a little bit too seriously. Lifelike, bro. Always beware, man, of those lifelike mannequins. There could be something going on with it, bro.
This is why you should never drink tap water. You will be shocked by the results.
Okay, what we seeing? I remember I used to drink tap. I do not drink tap water anymore. I'd stopped doing that like years ago. Okay.
100x.
See that brown stuff in?
For 100x.
No. Yup. We seeing this proof right now, 4K, in front of us, but I don't drink tap water, man.
Reviewing every horror movie that I've ever seen and telling you if it's worth the watch. Today I'm talking about The Strangers. Let's get into it. So for starters, I have heard a lot of hype about this movie. A lot of people seem to really like it. They say it's very terrifying, genuinely disturbing. So when I went into it with that mindset, I cannot express how disappointed I really was. Spoiler alert, by the way. The movie features a home invasion of sorts. Starts off with a wedding proposal that goes wrong, aka she didn't say yes, but they stay together in this cabin for the weekend. And these people are just like outside the cabin in the middle of the woods and they won't leave them alone. The whole time I feel like you're waiting for them to get to the point and they never do. It feels like something's coming and it just never does. They finally die in the end, but it's not that interesting. Their reason for killing them is this, just because you were home. There's no other motive, which maybe that's supposed to be scary, but it just isn't. It's lame. I will admit, this shot of Discount Scarecrow looks really good in the movie, though. Actually a little scary.
I know I don't check out scary movies, man, but...
Total chaos is unfolding in LA right now as 4 separate fires are tearing through the city, creating some absolutely apocalyptic scenes. Tens of thousands of people are being told to urgently evacuate and head to the coast for safety. You have senior patients being wheeled across smoky streets, beds and wheelchairs filling up a car park in Pasadena, people racing to evacuate their homes but then being forced to abandon their cars due to major traffic jams. And then you have bulldozers being forced to clear these cars by smashing them off the road. Passengers leaving LAX posted aerial views of the fire in Pasadena, which CNN report is ripping through an area equivalent to 5 football fields per minute due to strong winds of 60 to 80 miles per hour. Firefighters over the radio say that they're running out of water in some of their hydrants. Looks like we're leaving McDonald's in 2024. And these fires are not discriminating because Hollywood celebrities are being seen fleeing their multi-million-dollar homes as these fires destroy some of the most expensive land and houses in the entire country. As this situation develops, I'll keep you guys updated.
On February 19th of 2013, guests at the Cecil Hotel in downtown Los Angeles were complaining of poor-tasting tap water that was running brown. But when the hotel staff went to the roof to check the water tanks, what they found was horrific. Floating inside the tank were the 2-week-old remains of 21-year-old Elisa Lam. But here's why her death became kind of infamously mysterious. Elisa had been missing for weeks prior, which correlated with this strange and unusual video footage from the hotel elevator, which is believed to be her last known sighting. While inside the elevator, she's seen hiding, then pressing all of the buttons, and then she appears to be speaking to someone who's not there. But even more mysterious is how she even got on the roof in the first place. The roof access point is actually set with an alarm that only hotel staff can get past and disarm using a key card. Her autopsy showed nothing in her system aside from prescription medications, and what's strange is that when search canines were on the roof just days prior looking for her, they had never picked up her scent. The body was also found completely undressed in the water, and her cell phone has never been found. There has never been any evidence of foul play or that she was SA'd, and her death was eventually ruled as accidental due to a psychotic break, but the odd nature of how all of this unfolded has left a lot of unanswered questions for this case.
So they was drinking her remains? Because they said it was complaining about the tap water. Hey man, more this video. I say man, don't drink tap water, bro. Get off that. We don't know what the hell is in that water, man. Seekers, if you guys made it with me to the end of the video, you're a true seeker seeking the truth. I really appreciate the support. Make sure you guys comment down below. Hit that thumbs up button, man. Also hit that post notification bell so you always get notified when I upload my next video. You guys are going to catch you in the next one, man. I'm out. Peace, you too.